brands have only seconds to spark emotion, inspire action, and build trust. And our first session dives into how the power of creativity and AI come together, enabling marketers to craft experiences that not only drive growth, but make brands truly remarkable and unforgettable. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the CEO, Marketing and Media Alliance of Asia Pacific, Global Head of Smarties Worldwide and BOD of Asia Pacific MMA APAC. Please put your hands together, Mr. Rohit Dadwal.
Good morning, everybody. How did you like the new logo? Nice, refreshing change. Welcome to the 14th edition. I actually forget sometimes we've been here for a while, trying to do our best for the industry. It was a long time back that we started this. Today, I'm actually talking to you a little bit about marketing and the speed at which the marketing is changing. And it's a reflection of what is the world landscape like today. It's not something that you may not have heard of before, but I'm just trying to put a perspective of what is it that we as marketing organizations, as an industry, are looking at and staring into the future. What is the aspect of the scale at which we are working? We all know that there are about 5.4, 5.6 billion people that are online, and that's about 68% of the population of the world. But what is interesting is there are more people who have mobile phones than the people who are online. And that is going to change. 54% of the entire worldwide traffic actually comes through mobile today. And that's very interesting because that represents itself and leads itself to the scale of advertising, which is what we are all here for, advertising and marketing. Currently, the digital spends are about $786 billion. What is very interesting is 77% of that actually happens on mobile. So digital, and we used to be mobile focused, but the reality is the consumer landscape is changing and changing very fast from a consumption perspective. $250 billion out of the 768 is actually spent on social. This number was minuscule, single digit number percentage wise only 10 years back. That's the amount that has changed. $200 billion out of that is spent on mobile. Video, on video. And 85% of the internet users are actually watching video. Now look back 5 years, 7 years. These are numbers that were in single digit percentage wise. Now they form 30 to 40% of the spends, and between just the two, social media and video, it surpasses 50%. That's the speed at which we are changing, and it's only a reflection of the last 5 years. So what does that really mean from a global perspective? The changes that are happening are more from an intersection of technology. A lot of that is being driven by AI, the predictive, generative, and a lot of that is actually being fueled by marketeers. There is an ongoing conundrum in the marketing organization. 71% of the global brands have pressure on their budgets. These are research data that we have. And a lot of people are investing. While they are cutting money at certain elements from investment perspective, they're also investing money into new technologies, new test and learn scenarios. And that is happening because it's very important to understand where the trends are building from and how to cater to those trends. Few years back, we were talking about short form video, social media, and the shift that was happening. But nobody expected the video shift to happen at the scale at which it happened on the mobile. Social now represents as the number one place for commerce. That was not something that we all conceived a few years back. And it's important to put a perspective to this from a commerce perspective or shopping perspective, 65% of marketeers believe that is going to change in the next 3 years. Retail media is actually going to become more powerful than what we've seen that in the past, or for that perspective from an e-commerce perspective. In-shop advertising, omni-channel approach, all of that is actually going to help fuel the economy as we know as we go forward. But it comes at its own peril. Only 32% of marketeers believe they can actually measure their media spend. That's concerning when it's less than 50% or actually less than 70, 80%. It is concerning because it raises issues about privacy. It raises issue about measurement, raises issue about what is the power of data. We all have been talking about data being the new oil. Third party data, first party data, zero party data. We truly believe the world's going to change and the marketeers need to have the technology to adapt to that change in the cookieless world, in the AI world, in the predictive generative world, etc. And to do that and to enable that, it is important to understand how that landscape is changing and what it really means. And I'm going to dive down into Asia a little bit. That landscape in Asia is also changing. Please remember, Asia still is a mobile first market. It has less than 50% of consumers which use PC. We as consumers live on the super apps now. Super apps are the ones which are changing our consumer behavior. It is changing our commerce behavior. It's changing the brand engagement behavior. And it's important to understand that because while the consumers live on the super apps, there's another evolution that is happening, which is connected TV, which is gaming and sports. This is something that we knew would happen, but it's happening at much faster pace. 56% of marketeers will increase their OTT and CTV spends in 2025 itself. By the end of this year, we will see that data actually coming through. So what that really means is the entire marketing landscape is actually in a flux. There are changes that are happening at a speed that they are happening, which is not what marketing has been used to in the last 50, 100 years. But it's now on an ongoing basis driven purely by technology and the innovation, the connectivity. And it leads to different elements or challenges. Budget pressures, innovation management. It's not easy to manage and divert focus short term versus long term, brand versus performance on ongoing discussion. But what we are seeing is a 50-50 split, and it needs to be led by creativity, storytelling, and live commerce or commerce by itself. And in Asia specifically, the mainstream commerce, which is what the growth value for marketeers is actually coming from social commerce. And it is becoming it is increasingly becoming clear that it needs to be stemmed with social as the driving factor for both discovery and closure. And it leads to the next step, which is the emerging media. The mix is also changing. The media mix is no longer about what we used to start with, TV, print, radio. That's not how the mix is. Within this, the mix is changing on an ongoing basis because it's driven by the smart choices consumers are making. They are driving these smart choices. And that really means that we need to be able to have a focus on what our regulations are, what our frameworks are, what our structures are around privacy, about zero party value, because those are the drivers for a marketing organization going forward to create value and engage with the consumers. It is very important to understand that privacy is actually going to be privacy and data is going to change the way it is perceived today. As the consumers become more mature, they are going to value their data a lot more. What it really means for all of you and for us as an industry is, how do we treat that data? How do we respect that data and deliver against that? Because they want value exchange. They are going to become much more conscious of the exchange that happens. And they all expect a seamless journey, whether it is about discovery, research, or purchase and loyalty. It is all going to be driven on data. AI is going to fuel that growth of data. The predictive nature of AI will help consumers to understand the value of their own data, of their own behavior. And as marketeers, as an industry, we need to understand and respect that, because it's very important to build on the cultural and cultural inferences that come from it. And it also means that there's a whole new world of what that content consumption will be. It's not driven by what we believe as brands, as marketeers, but it's a new age of content that's coming through local creators, influencers, etc. It is a lot more dynamic than what we had originally thought of what digital will deliver. The impact comes from local content, local inferences, local culture, and so on and so forth. And last but not the least, the influences that we as an industry would like to make is driven by conversations, enabled by technology, but really built on the experiences that we have. The design of the campaigns have to be meaningful. They have to be purpose-led. Today's Gen Z or the Gen Alpha are far more conscious on those values. And we've seen this in the past. If we don't adapt, it is difficult to keep pace with it. And these are some of the examples that you will see. Netflix or OTT has actually taken over of what we knew of the entertainment business. Same has happened with telecom. Same has happened with Uber for transport, Uber and Lyft for transportation, and e-commerce has taken away from the retail. And these are the evolutions that we need to be mindful of and look in the rear view, that this has happened. It has happened to companies as big as Nokia and others. So why can't it happen to us? And therefore, the imperatives for us would be really to make sure we look at data, we look at AI, but with empathy, agility, and most importantly, the new age skills. AI is going to fuel those skills, whether it's predictive or generative, creative or performance, whichever way you look at it. The bottom line is, it is going to change. And therefore, the need to collaborate. Marketing is no longer going to be creative-led or madmen thinking. The science has to fuel advertising and marketing going forward. The science has to fuel that. And what I would like to end with is, MMA is actually helping become that catalyst to fuel that science. Jessica spoke about the fact that we are building a lot of these frameworks, the methodologies, the guidelines. They are all built on scientific data. And we truly believe, as we move forward, that science and advertising and creativity has to come together to actually fuel that growth for the advertising industry. So with that, thank you so much. I wanted to take this time to give you a very quick overview of what it looks like, and I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for Mr. Rohit Dadwal. Thank you so much, sir.